Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Heavenly Chats. I'm Emma
And I'm Chloe.
and today we're back. I feel like we haven't been here in a minute.
We double recorded 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
We were both traveling actually.
Yeah.
So I feel like Emma walked in the door and I was like, had a muffin halfway in my mouth. And I was like,
What? I haven't seen you in a minute.
seen her forever.
I know. It's been a hot second. We were completely in two different climates.
Yeah.
I was in Florida.
You were in sunny Florida and I was in rainy Portland. It was
Oh yeah.
like that.
Yeah. We were both like, no, it does feel weird. I'm like, how do I even intro this? I kind of forgot.
I know.
Forgot. But today we're talking about tested faith.
This is a good one because I think all of us have been tested in some sort. We might not have understood. If you're a newer believer and a newer follower, I don't think you probably realized it was God testing your faith, because I go through things even now as a believer, but I'm like, God, why? But I think before you're like a follower, you would still ask like, God, why? I think that's just like a blanket statement we refer to, but I don't think people actually understand what they're asking.
What they're
You know what I'm saying? I think it's just a little quote people say.
Yeah.
But it's like, God, why? And essentially, I feel like it's any struggle, any hardship, any valley we experience, it's easy to question God because, again,
Why
it goes
wouldn't you?
beyond our understanding. Everything he does is beyond our own understanding. And so it tests our faith, and it tests our faith through that. Like, God, are you going to get me through this?
Yeah.
And why, God, are you putting me through this? And those are both of the questions that we kind of struggle with.
Yeah. I think we don't really look at the bigger picture when that's happening. Like, certain things just going on, like, right now with even like me, nothing bad or anything, but it's just kind of sitting there like, why haven't I heard anything yet? Like, why do I not know? Like, I don't know what to do next. And you have to look back and not look at it from that perspective, but from like, okay, there's something that's happening through why I don't know, to like reveal itself much grander when I do know. So it's like not fun necessarily to sit there and be like, all right, well, I know I'm just kind of sitting here waiting, but it'll be worth it. It's like good things take time. That's such a cliche thing, but it is honestly true.
God does not fear testing our patience, and he likes us to fully surrender things to him as well. And I think a lot of times in my own life, when I haven't gotten like a clear answer, it's because I haven't fully like surrendered it to him, or I've done too much of the talking where I can't hear him, So it's like, I'm like, God, why? God, why? God, why? But I'm not actually like giving him a chance to explain. I'm not actually taking a step back, slowing my mind, slowing my day to day to like sit in his presence, reflect, talk to him, and like let him let me know. Because sometimes I think he does not tell you because you're not ready. Like, his timing's perfect, but I think sometimes it's our own fault for not being able to hear it because we're human and we like to just, not be present and still. I think that's like what I struggle with the most. Myself, where I'm like, God, why? And then I'm like, oh, okay, did I surrender it? Like, did I ask the right questions? Did I pray the right prayers? And he will. Like, sometimes I think I pray for an answer rather than praying for, I don't know how to describe this, but
like what you're gonna learn through it.
Yes. Or like, God, give me like patience, give me the strength, give me the encouragement, give me something else other than like, just tell me what to do. It's like, give me the guidance. There's other ways to kind of ask, I think, in these moments.
It's not just the answer itself. For sure.
Anyway,
for sure, I'm picking up what you're putting out. You want to pray?
Yeah, I need to practice. I feel like I'm just
I don't know why, with a while.
Lord, I want to thank you for this day. I want to thank you for this platform and this podcast, Lord. I pray that everyone listening can gain something from you, Lord. I pray that you speak through Emma and I, and that this isn't for our own glory, but for your glory, Lord. I pray that everyone can grow closer to you and talk to you more. And Lord, I just thank you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Boom.
Okay, wow, that was a while since I was like, I need to start praying. I'm like, deals. I was like, trying to slow myself down. That's okay. It's still a work in progress, you guys. It's still a work in progress for me.
Okay, that's okay. That's okay. Do we want to do the verse? Do you want me to?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's actually James 1:2-4. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything.
That's kind of like what we just talked about.
Yeah.
I actually don't know if I've ever read this verse until like this podcast.
I've never really read it on my own until we just did the book of James. But I feel like it is one that does come up during trials and stuff. Because why would anyone want to consider something a trial like pure joy? Like
pure joy, yeah.
Who's going through a health issue and it's like, pure joy, I have cancer. Pure joy, my mom's dying. Pure joy, I'm sick. Like no one wants to look at it like that at all. And I honestly don't think very many people do. And I don't think that would be my first initial instinct.
Not your default emotion and default experience when you're going through a hardship to have joy.
Yeah. And because you know that testing every faith produces perseverance. We're both like itching. I'm like, my eyes are itchy. There must be like dust in or something. It's kind of like how certain things are like made in the darkness, or like how diamonds are produced under like severe pressure or something. Which it all sounds so cliche. And like when I'm sitting at sermons about this, I'm like, yeah, right. Yep. That's probably what you guys are doing right now. But when you actually are like in the moment, the next time you're like really going through it, just think to yourself like, okay, what am I trying to like get taught right now?
Yeah.
Or what am I lacking right now, or whatever. Like that's what I've really kind of had to do with like myself, is like, okay, what am I not doing to figure out what's happening?
Yeah. I think a lot of times it's easy to like point the blame and create like an excuse as to why something's happening that isn't looking inwardly. Like if something in your business is failing, it's like, what have my coworkers been doing wrong? What has this? But like often we don't look back and it's like, what actions could I have taken differently? Or in a friendship or relationship. I was actually talking to a really good friend of mine the other day, and she's having this like situation with some girls, and I'm like, you have to understand. I'm like, two parts actually in this verse, and it made me kind of all clicked. But it was like, he's talking about let perseverance finish its work so you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. And I was explaining to her, I'm like, their maturity just isn't to the level as yours is. I'm like, you can only meet people to like the level they're at. And so it's like, they're not going to understand the things you do because they're not there yet. And so the other point I was trying to make, oh my gosh, I'm losing my train of thought. Like, I just totally scrolled.
It's the worst.
But the other point was like, oh, what was I saying?
You can only meet people as far as they're at. And you also told.
I was telling Iz about this. Oh, inwardly. Okay. But I was like, in this situation, they were like pointing the blame on her. When, again, there's two sides to every story, but I know this girl really, really well. And the things that they were painting about her are just like not her. And it's breaking my heart. And I was like, they're not taking the mature step to like look inward. And they're hurt, they're insecure, they're maybe jealous, but they're reflecting that onto her to make themselves feel better. So by default, as a human being, I think we like to blame others, put blame on others, put any reason for ourselves, like any reason we feel bad, we like to put it on someone else. We don't like to take responsibility for it. And so it's like when something bad's going on in life, we're never like, oh, this is God like really chiseling me out. This is God trying to make me better. It's usually like we just blame the world. We blame society. We blame whoever it's affecting. Like, is it making sense what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Like, we just have to redirect our like thought process of don't look outward on a situation. It's like come inward and go up. Like come into yourself and go up to God when something happens in any situation. Like it's going to be harder in some, like if you get a cancer diagnosis, obviously it's like, oh God, what am I lacking? But it's like, he is going to teach you something through this. He's going to use you as like a testimony. He's going to use your strength to inspire people. He's going to use you to like, you could speak on this. You could make it a story. Like you could really create something from this. Be amazing. One of the supplement companies I work with and I've worked with for years was created through a guy's cancer journey. Like he had a very, like his survival percentage was like 0 to none. And it inspired this whole movement and it created into like a big successful company. So it's like, he didn't play the victim role and was like, oh, like poor me. And like, I don't know. He just like took it inward and went up with it. And then like good came from it. And I just think if you don't do that, like there's going to be no good coming from it. It's just like you make a bad situation worse by looking outward. The only way you can make a bad situation better, I think, is reflecting inside and then going up to God.
That's fire. I have nothing really to add to that.
Yeah, that was
fun.
wow. I don't even know. That was all over the place. My brain was just like,
She said, I don't know.
but I just think like it's really easy to like blame everyone else. If I'm having a bad hair day, I'm like, oh, well, it's because like the shampoo I use isn't good enough. You know, it's like, no, maybe I just don't know how to style my hair. Like slow down, stop trying to blame something and just like take responsibility.
Yeah, fair.
Anyway.
The first point we just have like little things that we think are good to use while your faith is being tested. This one is kind of an uplifting one. It says, as long as you have tested faith, you have all that you need. And I think that that's like kind of confusing because you're like, well, why do you want me to go through hard things or whatever? But it's not because we want you to go through hard things. It's because you're going to come out on the other end of it and be like, yeah, that sucked for a year, or yeah, that was hard for 6 months or whatever it was. But I came out on the other side stronger and learning lessons that I would have never without it. And so if you change your perspective on it then, like while you're going through it, like, yeah, this is really, really hard right now, but I'm glad that I'm going through it to figure out where I'm supposed to be or who I'm supposed to be or where I'm supposed to go or whatever. And that's just like a different perspective of looking at it, because I feel like when you know you're in the trenches, like it's all your brain can kind of like hyperfixate on for a while. And I think it's good to like completely kind of change that toxic mindset to a more positive one. Yeah, if that makes any sense.
I mean, one thing I like to remind myself of in these situations is like every day God has prepared you for the day to come. Like you're equipped exactly for the things that you'll face today. So it's like whatever you're going through yesterday prepared you for today. So keep that in mind. In that moment, what you're going through is preparing you for the future.
Yeah.
And whatever you're going through, you are equipped to get through it, or God wouldn't put you to it. Like when I run, even something as simple and silly as running, and I would doubt, like, can I actually get through this like 10 miler? But I'm like, God wouldn't put me to it if he couldn't get me through it. And I hold on to that because I'm like, he fully will equip you for every single encounter, every single conversation, every single high and low of your life. Like you are equipped. If you get the opportunity and you feel called to do it and you feel peace about it, like that's God sending you there. And he's not going to send you there to fail. And if he does, and you do fail, it's probably, again, still for the better because you can learn something from the failure. But it's just like a glass like half full, half empty perspective of like, oh, this sucks. But it's like, well, look at the bright side. You're going to come out so much stronger. Like training, running, preparing for the big race sucks. When you're like going through the progressive like overload, you know, and you're breaking down your body and you're encountering new experiences, it's hard and it hurts. But at the end, you know, when you get through the 6 weeks program, when you get to the end and you are strong and you are equipped to like do that race you've been preparing for, it's like all worth it. And you're so strong. And now you have the confidence and the experience to battle something more. It's like if you got through a half marathon, okay, now maybe you get to a full marathon. It's like it's a progressive thing, but it's never going to be easy. Like nothing in life is like a cakewalk, you know?
Yeah, 1000%. I forgot what I was going to say. That's the worst. It'll hit me. Do you have anything else to say for that?
No, but I think we just, all in all, like to sum that up, it's like just really appreciate the moments where your faith is being tested. Like even in a relationship, if you're struggling back and forth and it hurts and it's confusing, look on the bright side of being like, once we like can get through this, like it's going to make a relationship that much stronger, you know, or something in your business and you're like, oh, this is overwhelming. This is stressful, losing money. It's like, once we get through this, because we are problem solvers at heart as human beings. Like we are created to like see a problem and like attempt to fix it and get through it. And again, God will always bring you through, but you're going to learn so much through that journey. It's like a blessing in disguise.
100%.
But
100%. Next point is we don't need pretty, polished, perfect faith.
Yeah.
I think I've said this before. I think right now, especially with like social media and like people probably think this about us, like, oh, like their faith is perfect and like they don't ever have any issues. And like, no, like I said, I'm kind of going through the process of life right now where it's like, what am I called to do, and like it's really hard and confusing with being this age and like needing and having bills to pay and things to do and whatever, and then like doing what God called you to do that might not pay all those bills. You know what I'm saying? Or it's like, do you do something that you're going to have more freedom and then feel like you're out of your purpose or out of your whatever? And so it's like this constant battle back and forth in my brain right now. And so it's like, well, what do you do? Literally, what do you do? I don't know. And so I'm just kind of sitting in the middle, like I'm trying everything that I possibly can. And it's kind of just like, I wish God could sit down right here and be like, okay, Emma, here's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
But he's not doing that. And that's okay. And he's not supposed to do that. And so like somehow, somewhere, for some reason, I'm being tested to continually ask him, like, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
And like, I don't have peace with anything specifically yet. So it's like, we're not there yet, but we're getting there. We're getting closer.
You're in the journey right now. Like,
yeah, I told Jake last time, like, I know that I'm so close. Like, I can like feel it come, like, you know, like the anticipation of something.
Yeah.
Like, I feel the anticipation of something so close, but I literally don't know where it's coming from.
Dude, I felt that exact feeling before we launched Allura.
Yeah.
A month before it, I was doing my year reflection. We launched it in like, the idea sprung in like early February, but I was like, dude, like I know something's coming. Like something in my business life, something in my like career is gonna flourish. So like, hold on to that.
Yeah.
It's like a real like feeling God's putting on your heart.
And I don't know, it's gonna come out of left field, and I know I'm look back on this episode and like however long and be like, I was right. Like I knew it was coming, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's like that time where you're just sitting and you're driving and you're alone and you're like, dude, and I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like, this is crazy. And so like, no, my faith is not perfect right now. No, nobody's ever is. But like,
no,
on the outside looking in, no one's fully ever gonna know.
Yeah.
Unless I go and tell everyone at church, like, hey, this is what I'm fighting spiritually right now, and everyone would be like, oh, okay, like we had no idea. You know what I mean? So sometimes I think it's cooler when it's not perfect and everything, because it's like kind of leads into the next thing is like, if your faith isn't tested, then it can't really be trusted, or only when your faith is tested, it can't be trusted is like the next point. Like, I feel like,
well, that's like where testimonies are like created.
1,000%.
You know, it's like, it's a way to testify in his goodness, being like, dude, I had no idea what I was going to do with my life. I was so stressed out. I was so confused. I was trying everything, like, but I kept relying on him. And eventually, like, look at me now. Like, you know, and you can talk about your 20-year-old self when you're 22 and you're flourishing and you're excited, you know. It's hard in the moment, but it's like he creates these things to go and spread the good news, you know.
I have to sneeze.
Most of I would say every testimony is amazing, but I feel like they're all tied back to like a hard part in our life, and it's like we wouldn't be here without God, and he has to put us through that, because that's where that's where our faith is real. Like when you're like deeply struggling, you like emotionally, spiritually, like he has to strip you down and practically get you on your hands and knees to like go to him, you know. Like some people, it's like they tried every other outlet, every other vice to fix their problem, and it didn't work. It didn't work. And then like once they go to him, like, but those testimonies are powerful, they're moving, those are like what bring people to the church, you know. And so it's like it can't be trusted. Like you guys wouldn't take our advice if we had no way to back it up. But it's like you can visually see like the Jesus glow in us and the way we've transformed. You hear our stories, and like that's what you like believe in. And I think that's the beauty of our faith, is we have the ability to like share our testimonies. And I think that's why the church is growing right now, because people are talking about it more, and young adults are getting more into their faith because people aren't ashamed to like share their struggles. And people can attach, like we all feel so alone, we all feel so lonely, and everyone thinks what they're going through, they're the only one. I can promise you, so many people listening, I'm like probably completely are in the same walk right now. Of like, what do I do? We're in our early 20s. I've battled that before too. Like everyone at a point is like questioning what they're doing with their life. Newsflash, I'm 23, and I like no one ever knows what they're doing. I have friends who are 30, I have friends who are 40, I have friends at all ages. We're all just getting by, but it's like God will always provide just enough to like get you by. With that all to be said though, it's like one point I was going to make it the other topic we were just talking about is like, I think a lot of new Christians get into their faith thinking it's going to be like perfect and easy and life's going to become like sunshines and rainbows once they're baptized and saved. But it's like, that's not the case. Like, I hate to break it to y'all, but like life almost gets more messy once you become like a follower of Jesus, because it's like, you can't pour into the vices, and you have to really like be in tune with yourself, and you have to be real, and you have to go to him, and you have to surrender things, and you got to like walk through the trenches. But
Yeah.
it's just like no one's faith is perfect, and no one is like not battling some sort of something.
Yeah. No, agree. No, I totally agree. I think that like you can't, it's kind of like when you're going to like a restaurant, like if you're going to compare one restaurant to another, you're going to like look at the reviews and see like how many stars it has or whatever. Like you're going to kind of like see that. So I think that like the test you're going through is like only going to build you higher for sure. And like back to the first point, you're not going to see it while you're going through it, and you're not going to want to think like, oh, it's all going to be great in this amount of time. And the saddest part about it is that God doesn't give us a timeline. He literally doesn't say, by this date, you'll know exactly what's going to happen. Like I've said it 1,000 times, you're chasing something you can't see. And I wish I could sit here and say that I think that that's so easy and so fun, and it's not. Okay, it's really not. And you just, like I said, I wish God could sit here next to me and be like, okay, here's what you're called to do.
Just wait until January 12th and you have it all figured out.
Yeah, I'd feel so much better.
Yeah, life.
And we would just know.
Faith. You just feel like, oh,
exactly.
like I know the answer.
And we're just killing it. This is going into our next point. Your faith is revealed in the fight. So obviously what you're thinking about and what you're doing while you're going through the bad things is like going to reveal what is going on in your body or in your spirit or whatever.
Yeah. And when things are good, you're not really turning inward and being like, oh, what can I fix? Because everything's going good. But like God's got to kind of tear you down and humble you to like chisel you out and grow you.
1,000%.
You know? Like I can confidently say, I don't know if I've really learned much more about myself than when I'm in my worst points. I grow the most in the ugliest, darkest times. And Kyler and I have grown the most in our relationship when we're in the biggest struggle, you know, in the weakest, darkest points of our relationship, we've grown the most. And it's like me as a person, like I've like went before I met God, like that was the lowest point in my life, but it's what pushed me in to finding the Lord. And now that's like a testimony to myself being like, I never want to go back there. Yeah. Like that's my own like point to trust is like, I trust God because he brought me from that point to here. And it's like, I don't trust myself because clearly like when I was living for me, when I was doing my own life and my own things, living for the world, that's where I got myself, like that point. But when I surrendered it to the Lord, he's brought me here. Yeah. Here is much better than there. Yeah. So understand too, like when you're in an ugly, bad spot, look back at all of the times God has pulled you through and put you in a really good position. Like he's going to do the same again. You just got to be patient. We don't know that timeline, but like, you know, the timing of it will be perfect. So like, there's no reason to try to control it because any other time isn't going to be perfect, you know? So it's like
1,000%. I think the next one's honestly fire. Yeah. Don't desire strength, but then get upset at God when he says to use it. This is like our patience thing that we talked about. Like if you pray for patience, you're not just going to be like immediately like, ooh, I'm not feeling super angry today. I'm not feeling irritable. Yeah. He's going to be like, okay, sit in an hour of traffic and let's see how patient you're. Yeah. And that's the same thing with strength. Like, don't be like, I want to be so strong for other people. And then like go through really hard time and be like, God, why are you giving me this? It's like, he's sitting up there like, you're contradicting yourself. Like, I'm so confused. And I think we do that all the time. Like, we want to be strong and keep us strong. And then he puts us through something to make us stronger. And we're like, God, why are we going through this? God, why? God, why? God, why? And it's like, well, he's sitting up there like, you're so dumb.
Like, it's impossible. Like, I always break it down to like comparisons in the gym because that's just like my life. But it's like, if you want to grow your biceps, God isn't just going to wake you up one day with a 4-inch bigger bicep, okay? He's gonna like put you into the gym and he's gonna like introduce you to a trainer and he's gonna put you on a plan,
grab a higher weight,
grow, you know, and you're gonna have to be tested every time you walk into that gym door to do more reps, to go up in weight, to go heavier. Like when I take my client through programming, I'm like, okay, we're doing 12 reps this week. We did 10 last week. And then next week we're dropping to 8, but we're going up in weight. Like, that's how you break down the muscle to grow it bigger. He's breaking you down every time to then like grow you.
Yeah.
So when you're being tested with your patients, he's not just going to grant you patience. He's going to, like Emma said, put you through traffic, see how you handle it. Put you through traffic again until you're like, oh,
It'd be so fun to be God.
Oh,
Just sitting up there like, okay, like,
you just
see,
get it. Oh, let's sprinkle this on there and this on there.
oh, and he has like,
He's a funny God, I think, too. Sometimes I'm like, really?
yeah.
Really? I'm like, really?
That's why I really try sometimes to not take it too serious. I'm like, it's all gonna be okay.
Yeah.
It's all gonna be okay.
I always remind myself that. I'm like, Chloe,
Everything's fine.
always figured. I guess I haven't always figured it out, but God's always figured it out. Like, we've always gotten through it. Like, in moments where I'm like, I don't know how I'm gonna make it out of this. Like, oh no, how am I gonna pull this off? I always end up pulling it off. So it's like, don't even like let go of the stress. It just makes trying to pull it off harder.
Yeah.
It's just like delaying it. It's making it more difficult. It's like, make your life as easy on yourself as you can, because the world and society is going to make it hard, like, regardless.
Already, yeah.
So it's like, control what you can control in those situations. And a lot of that is just like having faith
Yeah.
that God will just control it. And
He do the rest for us. For real, for real.
I'm like sucking down this Diet Coke. So good. I haven't had it in like so long because I was on that 75 hard.
I don't know. I haven't had Diet Coke since
So good.
Christmas.
Wow.
Because I know once I start drinking again, I'm just going to
it's
be
so good.
addicted to it again. So I've just tried to drink anything but Diet Coke. Because I don't really get addicted to like other sodas.
Yeah. I like Diet Dr. Pepper too. That's my other fave.
Me too, but I don't ever, I'm not like ever like, ooh, I'm craving that. Like I am with Diet Coke. So whenever I get a taste of it, I'm like, I can't. So I just do something else. Sorry, guys. We're just ranting about Diet Coke.
Hey, I feel like a lot of our listeners probably love a little Diet Coke.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I like this next one a lot. Do I have something in my tooth?
Mm-mm.
It feels like I do. Like, I don't want to be talking.
She said, no, I don't say anything.
Okay. This next one's my favorite. It says, if you have scars in your life, it's because the enemy tried to take you, but he couldn't.
That's really crazy.
It's so good. Like, scars are proof of like our strength and our perseverance and our ability to like go through a struggle and make it out.
Yeah.
It's so like,
Yeah. No, it's like, it could be an emotional scar or a physical scar, like one you can see or not see, but I feel like just as much as a testimony is like a testimony for God and like his kingdom, I think it could be just as much of how much it is against Satan, if that makes any sense. Like just as much as it's for God, it's that as much against Satan. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense.
Typically, like, the enemy is trying to like tear you down and hurt you and like cut you up and spit you out. But it's like, if you have a scar, it means you healed from it and you got through it. So it's like a proof of like, God's always going to win. You know, like God's always going to get you through if you like lean on him. So it's like a written testimony in a way, like if it's like a visible scar or whatever it may be. But no, I think that's so good.
We're both like brain dead right now.
There's that one story in the Bible. Darrison did a sermon on it. And it was talking about that guy who tried to run. I don't know the full story, so I don't even want to say it, but it was like a man and he was like running. I don't know if it was who he was running away from, if it was like Jesus or if it was someone. I'd have to look back with my notes from like months ago, but he was running, okay, and he like broke his leg, but God healed him, but gave him a limp as a reminder that will run from the Lord. You know, it's like he healed him enough to like function, but it was like a constant reminder of like, what, you're not strong without me.
Yeah.
Like, don't do things without me. That's when I think it's like really important, because it's like, if you have a scar, it's just a reminder to yourself. Because a lot of times once you're healed and you're happy and life's good, you forget about God. Like, you don't lean on him. Like, you lean on him the most when you're in those moments. Like, he wants that equal attention when life is good.
Yeah.
So a scar is that reminder of being like, you know what? Like, he got me through that. Like, I need to give him like glory when it's going good. You know, even when I'm not desperate for something, I'm not seeking something, I still need to give him like praise and love and worship him in those times.
I also think it's like a testament to yourself to like, okay, I've already been through something like this. I've been through something hard before. Like, and it's healed now. Like, it's a scar now. It's not an open wound now. So I've made it through once, so I can make it through again. It's kind of like, what's like a comparison? Like, you make it through one half of the game. You're like, I don't know if I can make it through the second half or whatever. You're like, well, no, I already made it through the first half. So, like, I've done it once already. I can do it again.
Yeah.
Or like a race or
That's
whatever.
in my half marathons. I'm like, if I ripped it once, I can rip it again.
You're like, I can do it again. Yeah.
It's building that evidence bank for yourself.
Yeah.
One of my good friends, Matt Zayla, was on my other podcast, and he does like those like ultra marathons and stuff.
That's insane.
But he's like, every challenge that I do builds my evidence bank of my physical and mental toughness. And he goes, that's what gives me the courage to toe up to the line and try the next thing, because I know I got through the last, and I was like, wow, like that's crazy. So like life for him is about building that evidence bank of like, I can do hard things, I can get through this. So it's like, utilize that in your faith and utilize every struggle as a bit of your evidence bank and your testimony to God. And like, he's good, he's gracious, he's always brought you through, and build that up. Another thing I was thinking about too is like scars, if they are visible, like that's like the perfect opportunity to like talk about your testimony and prove and show to others.
That's what I was going to say too.
Of like the goodness of God and how he got you from that like point A to point B.
Yeah.
So it's like a gift for other people as well.
Sorry, Darius, I just texted the group chat. Oh gosh, our church is doing a relationship series right now, and they're talking about sex tonight, and so our group chat is like blowing up, and somehow I'm just laughing.
That'd be an interesting conversation for sure. I have my Diet Coke in one hand and my mic in the other, and I almost went down to like
Talk to your Diet Coke.
No, I tried to drink out of my mic, and I was like,
just kidding. Just kidding.
But the last point, do you have any other points, I guess, on the scars?
No.
To wrap it up, you guys, if you are a follower of Jesus, there is no question of who will win and who will not. That's
Fire.
So good.
Literally fire. I feel like that's easy to question sometimes, but the more you keep asking him to win the fight for you or take care of it for you, like, it's gonna inevitably happen. Even before you know that it happened, if that makes any sense. So that's fire. I think that's like a fire one to like
end on. I think that's like a comforting thing to know is like God will always, he will turn every thing the enemy had for evil, he will make it good. That's pretty sure that's a line in a worship song. But like it's real. So it's like whatever the enemy is gripping you on and you feel like you have you feel like you're out of control and you're helpless, it's like, understand, if you surrender to God, like God will remove that grip and he will turn it to good. Even if you've already done something ugly, you've already been through the trenches, you do things you regret.
Yeah.
Again, it's like God has the ability to turn it into good. He can turn it into a testimony. He can turn it into like living, walking proof. Like you're now a person who can help that person.
Yeah.
Who was in your position.
Yeah.
Because like your past is in the past. Like it's okay if you've done bad things. It's okay if you messed up. It's okay if you've whatever. Like literally whatever. It could be the worst of the worst things. Like there's pastors who used to be like
drug dealers.
Yeah, like worse than that.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like now like they're saved, they're transformed.
Yeah.
So it's like, understand, like if you've went through that, you have an ability that like many people don't, and you can reach those people in those shoes. Like
100%.
You're the most equipped to help the person you used to be. So it's like, if you were in a bad position, think of the good you can do now.
Yeah.
And it can be in any situation. It doesn't have to be like super, super bad. Like anything you struggled with, like any struggle in your life. That's how I created a platform on social media, created my job, is because I'm like bringing value to the girl I used to be. It's like, oh, I could have used help in this. I could have used advice with this. I share my story about this. Like,
yeah. 100%.
So don't be ashamed of your past, and don't be feeling helpless if you feel like the enemy has a grip on you, because like God ultimately will win.
Yeah. 100,000%. 100,000%.
Anyway.
Well, I think that's kind of all we got. It was kind of a short but sweet. I think we had a lot of those fire moments in there, but it wasn't like super drug along.
Yeah.
But I feel like they all flowed and it was good.
Yeah. I just encourage you guys, like if you feel like you're questioning God and you're wondering why he brought you to this, or why he's putting you through this, or why again you're going through another struggle, just remember how strong you're going to come out of this being, and how equipped you are now to, one, help somebody else who's also in this position. Like when think of this situationally. When someone comes to you with a problem and you haven't walked through it, so you're like, I don't know how to help you. I wish I could.
Yeah.
But then you call someone because you're like, oh, but my friend, she actually went through this. Like, let me connect you guys.
Yeah.
She'll help you.
Yeah. Boom.
Boom. You can help someone now because you walked through it.
Yeah.
So it's like,
that's a
it
win-win.
will be made for the good and the better.
Yeah.
Just hold on tight.
Just
Sometimes
hang in there.
the valleys they're crazy.
Yeah.
And they suck sometimes. But it's like if you have like the glass half full mindset of like be optimistic and be excited about what God's doing and be like trusting and having faith that he like is doing this intentionally.
Yeah.
And he will make good from it. And he is putting you through this for a purpose.
Yeah.
It's a little relieving.
It makes it so much easier.
Yeah.
1000%.
Anyway,
That's all we have.
that's all we have. We'll see you next week and we'll see you in heaven.